Hello everyone, welcome to Inclusive Bharat and welcome to the daily editorial analysis of the Hindu newspaper. In this video, we'll be discussing the important articles from the Hindu newspaper for 26 August. Let's move in with the articles. The first article, middle path. To grasp, to fully grasp this article, we need to understand the background of a pension system in India. And also, we have to see the recent changes made by the government. Okay, so this article talks about a pension system. Okay, traditionally, if you see the government employees in India, they were covered by what is called as old pension scheme. It was traditionally okay. Actually, in this old pension scheme, which is promised to a defined pension amount after retirement. This pension was calculated as a percentage of employees' last drawn salary, ensuring a guaranteed income for life. That is, say if there is a government employee, he is working, and in the during his retirement age, his salary is 60,000. Okay, so if it is 60,000, 50% of his salary will be as a pension. Okay, so that percentage of the employee's last drawn salary, ensuring there is a guaranteed income for life. Okay, this OPS, that is the old pension scheme, was entirely funded by the government. It is entirely funded by the government. That is, there is no direct contribution from the employees. Okay, there is no direct contribution from the employees in the old pension scheme. However, due to the concerns about the rising cost of pension, because even in India there is aging populations. Okay, there is a cost of pension and their impact on the government finances. Okay, there comes introduction called as new pension scheme. The new pension scheme, this was introduced in the year 2004. Okay, unlike the old pension scheme, the new pension scheme, this is contributory market linked scheme. That is, say under the NPS, both government and a employee, they contribute the part of their salary to the pension fund, which is invested in the market. So the returns on these investments determines the pension payout, making it less predictable, potentially lower than the guaranteed pensions under the OPS. So what they're saying is the new pension scheme, if you see, the new pension scheme, this was introduced in 2004. This in this pension scheme, during the working period, both the government and the employee, they will contribute a part of the salary from the pension fund. And then this fund will be invested in the market. So the NPS becomes a contributory and market linked scheme so that the burden on the government finances are reduced. And also these returns on these investments are determined by determining this pension payout is very less predictable and also the lower than the guaranteed pensions under OPS. Okay. So the article addresses the Indian government's recent decision to modify its pension scheme, which tries to strike a balance between between guaranteeing some of the pension scrutiny for government's employee and also maintaining fiscal prudence. That's very simple. There is a new scheme called UPS. Okay, this is just you know this is merging both the OPS and the NPS. So this is the recent changes that is brought by the Indian government. So let's see. Let's break down this. What is this? Okay, what is restoration of guaranteed pension? See, the government have restored some elements of the guaranteed pension, that is OPS, for its employee through a new scheme which is called as Unified Pension Scheme. Okay, this move is seen as a compromise and aimed at meeting employees' demand for secured retirement while also addressing the concerns about the fiscal burdens of the state. So, it is a balance between, we need a secured payment after retirement, and also we have to see about the financial burden of the state. So, this unified pension scheme, this addresses both. So, what is the challenges faced by pension schemes globally? So in globally, if you see the pension schemes around the world, whether it is contributory like the NPS or guaranteed by the government like OPS, they are facing the financial strain. It is not only in India, overall and all over the world, this financial strain is there. This is due to the several factors like aging population, Because if there is a country where more aging populations are there, then the numbers, there is an increase in number of retirees while reducing the number of active workers contributing to this pension fund. Right? Yes. And financial impact of the pensions or the state budget. If you see the financial impact, so in India, the pensions are a significant part of government's expenditure. According to Reserve Bank of India, if you see 2024 fiscal year, 23-24 fiscal year, the total budget estimation for pension across the various states and union territories is 5,22,105 crores. This amount represents about 6% to 21% of the state's total revenue receipt. If you see, it is 6% to 21% of the state's total revenue receipts. States, that is, this includes overall India. Okay, indicating the heavy fiscal burden on the pension payment. So this is how financial impact. This is the financial impact of a pension on the state budget. So debate over pensions as a deferred wages. See, pensioners, most of the pensioners argue that their pensions are essentially deferred wages. Meaning deferred wages. What is deferred wages? That means the amount, they've already earned this money through the year of services. So while we are working, these are the payments that you have to, that is, as a pensioner, he is working for a long period of time. So for this year of services, he have earned some more amounts that the government has not paid as salary. So in the end, retirement, they are paying it. This is how the pensioners are arguing. However, there is a counter argument that the funding of these pensions through the government exchequers can place a significant financial burden on future generations. Okay, who will need to bear the cost of these pensioners through taxes and other means. Yes, of course. If there are more aging population, then what happens? Currently, who are working, who are earning, we have to tax them. So, in order to compensate this pensions, right? So, the government strategy to manage the pension cost. So, to manage this resisting cost associated with pension, government have been outsourcing the jobs. What are the government strategies? You see, the governments are outsourcing the jobs, offering more contractual employment instead of the permanent position. For example, if you see, recently we had this Agnipath scheme, which is a short-term services program for military. This is an example of such an approach. Yeah, Agnipath scheme, short-term program for military, right? Additionally, many government posts are being left unfilled. So let's understand the implication of this. See, this will, first thing is reduce the state capacity. So with fewer permanent employees, the government's ability to effectively deliver the services are diminished. Because when a person who is working over the years, he is having a lot of experience, so that they can work effectively. So the government ability to effectively deliver the services, they can. But now, due to this, we don't have a permanent employee. These are the effective delivery of services are diminished, and also fewer employment opportunity. If you see the reduction in the permanent government and public sector jobs, this limits the career opportunity for the country's growing youth population. Okay. Yeah. So what is the issue with the new pension scheme? In 2004, we bought, which is called as new pension scheme. So the new pension scheme, see currently we are coming up with UPS, Unified Pension Scheme. Have a difference. That is, there are OPS, old pension scheme, and then we bought a new pension scheme. Now currently we are bringing Unified Pension Scheme, which is merging these two good things of both the old schemes. Okay, the NPS introduced the market linked scheme was supposed to provide a sustainable pension model based on investment returns. Right. However, as an employee who joined after January 1, 2004, who joined, whoever, all the employees who have joined after January 2004 began to retire, it becomes clear that the pensions payout under the NPS were significantly lower than what they would have actually received under OPS. This dispensary led to dissatisfaction among the retirees. So that is the problem. So in the old pension scheme, they got more money. Whoever joined after 2004, they got very less money. So that is the problem. Now, that is a problem with the new pension scheme. Now, let's understand the political implication and the move towards the UPS. The issue of pension became a politically charged topic. See, the Congress party, they're advocating for restoration of OPS, increasing pressure on the ruling BJP. In response, BJP brought a middle ground to address the fiscal concern and the demand for government employees. The committee led by T.V. Somnathan, a former financial secretary, he proposed the unified pension scheme. So, unified pension scheme, under whose committee recommendation it is T.V. Somanathan. Okay, he's a former financial secretary. This is very important. Somanathan. Okay. Hmm. So, let's understand what are the key features of this new unified pension scheme. If you see the new unified pension scheme, this promises a pension of 50% of the average basic salary of last 12 months before retirement. Okay. And last 12 months, whatever the basic pay is, if you see, we can take the average. For example, a person who is going to retire in June 24. Okay. From June 2023. Okay. June 2023, there might be he's getting some basic salary for past 12 months. So let's take average of all these things, and 50% of that average, okay, that will be promised as a pension. There is a minimum pension of 10,000 for employees who have worked for at least 10 years. So that is one thing. This is a good thing that brought in. So minimum pension of 10,000 for employees who have worked for more than 10 years. And also the government contribution to the pension scheme has been increased from 14% under the new pension scheme to 18.5%. So government is contributing about 18.5%. Okay. So there is a two-way, the contribution from the employee side and also the contribution from the government side. That government side, it has increased to 18.5%. So this new scheme aimed for a better financial security and dignity to the government employees upon the retirement, and also addressing some of the concerns raised by employees and political parties also. So the article emphasized that for any reforms to be sustainable, especially one as a significant as a pension reform, there needs to be a broad political consensus. Social security measures should ideally cover as a wide population as possible, not just organized groups like government employees. Now that the government employees have managed to secure a more favorable pension scheme, they should support it fully rather than resist aspects like employee contribution, understanding that such reforms are necessary for fiscal sustainability. Because if you see, pensioners, what they are, if they argue like we need a OPS where the contribution is fully from the government, that will not be good for the for a country. So that's why the article says that whatever the new unified payment scheme, I mean unified pension scheme, which has come in now, the people have to understand and welcome this and fully support it rather than resisting it. So it is between both, where employee contribution also is there and government contribution is also there, and also it is not linked to the market. So uh, they will have a good pay during their pension period. So the article provides a comprehensive overview of changes in the Indian pension policies, highlighting the challenges of balancing employee demands for guaranteed pensions, but the government needs to manage the fiscal pressure also. So the UPS represents a middle path, attempting to provide financial security to retirees and also maintaining some fiscal responsibilities of the state. So the article calls for a broader political consensus to ensure a sustainability of the pension reforms, recognizing the need to protect social security from the segments of the population. Okay. Yes. Now let's move on to the next article, the new age gateway device, the latest health threat. Let's get into detail of the article. Okay. This article highlights the danger of new age gateway devices. What the articles, I mean, what the author says about the new age gateway devices, that is e-cigarette, vaping pens, and other electronic nicotine delivery system, ENDS. Okay, electronic nicotine delivery system. Initially marketed as a safe alternative for smoking, these devices have instead created a public health crisis, particularly among the children and adolescents, by fostering addiction and causing both physical and mental harm. Okay, let's get into this article and understand in detail of this article. Okay, so to understand this article, it is essential to know about the recent rise in popularity of new age gateway devices. So, what is new age gateway devices? Just now, as we said, it's e-cigarette, vaping pens, and other electronic nicotine delivery systems. These devices were initially marketed as healthier and alternatives to traditional cigarettes, claiming to help people to quit smoking by providing less harmful way to consume nicotine. Unlike regular cigarettes, these devices do not involve in burning tobaccos, which is known to produce harmful carcinogens. Carcinogens is causing agent. Instead, they use heat to vaporize a nicotine containing liquid, which users then inhale it. Okay, so that e-cigarettes will have nicotine contained liquid, and when it is heated, we can inhale it. That looks similar to like cigarettes, but it's an e-cigarette. Okay, now overall time, over the period of time, evidence has emerged that these devices are not safe for initial as initially portrayed. It is not as safe. They contain addictive substances and have been found to cause physical harm, including the lung damage. Furthermore, they have become particularly popular among the young people, raising the concerns about the new generation becoming addicted to this nicotine. So, article this is written by a clinical physiologist, okay, who is Bomi. She delves into this unexpected and harmful consequences of this new age gateway devices, especially among children and adolescents. Let's break down the key points that discussed by Bhavna. So, healthier alternative myth. Okay, the author says that it is the article starts by challenging the perception that these new age gateways devices are healthier alternative to traditional smoking. Contrary to the claim made by the manufacturers, these devices have led to new public health crises. They have not only failed to help quit tobacco, but also introduced new health risks, particularly among the young users. See, manufacturers of e-cigarettes and vaping devices have found a lucrative market in children and teenagers. This has led to significant increase in youth vaping, creating what the author described as new pandemic. Author says this they have created a market where most of the children and teenagers use this devices. Now, this is described as a new pandemic. That's what the author says. For example, in the United States, if you see in 2023, e-cigarettes are the most commonly used tobacco products among middle and high school students, with millions of students using this. This surges is worrying because it suggests that the new generation is becoming addicted to nicotine with potential serve long-term health consequences, that is like lung diseases, etc. So, marketing tactics and psychological vulnerability. So, the rise in youth vaping can be partially attributed to the aggressive marketing strategies by the manufacturers. One thing most of the children are young adolescents are getting addicted because of the aggressive marketing strategies by the manufacturers. These companies use inciting flavors like strawberry, cotton candy, lemonade to attract the children. This targeted marketing exploit the psychological vulnerability of the young people who are more likely to experiment with these products due to their appealing flavors and colorful packing. Additionally, these devices are marketed as trendy and socially desirable, so which can lure children into trying them in order to fit in with their peers. Yes, as obvious, when we have a product in the market which looks so nice, then what we try to do is we'll just try. That's how the marketing is done. Okay, the psychological factors and susceptibility. The article highlights two psychological factors that makes children particularly susceptibility to this new age devices. One is early exposure and addiction. Children are becoming exposed to these devices at a younger age, with those under 10 already showing signs of vulnerability. The most at risk age groups remains 10 to 20 years old, a demographic that manufacturers alleged exploit through appealing advertisement and flavors. Children often prioritize fitting in with their peers over their own well-being, which can lead them to start using these devices. See, when a group of students or friends, they roam around, one sto- one uh, one person who's taking this or who's inhaling this e-cigarettes, what will happen? This will definitely influence other friends also. So that because it looks, it'll the packaging, everything is looking good, they will try this, right? So the marketing suggests that the vaping will bring happiness and enhance social status, but in reality, those who vape often experience feeling of loneliness and social isolation compared to the non-vaping peers. So the true behind this vaping is like they feel alone, social isolation compared to the non-vaping peers, peer groups. Okay. Gateway to physical and mental health risks. See, the article discusses the dual impact of this device on physical and mental health. Physically, what happens? The physical harm caused by these devices become increasingly evident. For instance, the use of e-cigarettes have been linked to lung damage and a condition known as EVALI, e-cigarette or vaping use associated lung injury. These devices can cause serious health problems that may not be immediately apparent but can have a long-term effect. In the short term, it we can see during short period of time there is no much effect, but in a long term it's a very big effect. Let's understand about the mental health risk also. So the mental health impact are equally concerning. So the Australian Institute of Family Studies, they reported that this e-cigarettes contain usage is associated with mental health challenges such as one is depression, anxiety, perceived stress, and even suicide related behaviors among the adolescents. These are the mental health risks. Young peoples are particularly vulnerable to nicotine addiction, which can lead to structural and chemical damages in the brain. Structural and chemical damages. This addiction not this addiction not only increases the risk of developing other substances use disorders later in the life, but also perpetuates a cycle of dependency and mental health issues. Okay, say addictive nature of e-cigarette. A key point in this article is the highly addictive nature of e-cigarette. A study published by JAMA Network Open Open found that more adolescents e-cigarette users reported in their first tobacco products with 5 minutes of walking compared to use of traditional e-cigarettes and other tobacco products. This rapid onset on use highlights the strong grip nicotine has on the adolescent's brain. Modern e-cigarettes are designed to deliver nicotine more effectively than earlier versions of traditional cigarettes. So the addition of a substance like benzoic acid to the nicotine e-liquid enhances their addictive potential, making it easier for a user to consume high levels of nicotine. So in this nicotine e-liquid, they add benzoic acid. So what happens when we inhale this? It makes our brain to consume more. Okay, the gateway to harder substance. The article warns that these new age devices are not just gateway to the nicotine addiction, but also experimenting with harder substances like cannabis, cocaine, and heroin. So many users, including children and teenagers, mistakenly believe that the vaping involves only harmless water vapor and flavors, unaware of the potential for addiction and the risk of escalating to more dangerous substances. So this is what initially, if you say, if we'll feel like it's just water vapor and flavors, but in long term, if you see, there are a lot of risks, both mentally and physically. So the article concludes by stating that these devices, initially marketed as a safe alternative for traditional cigarettes, are now creating public health crisis among the young peoples. This may lead to widespread addiction, exposing new generation to serve physical and mental health risk. So as a conclusion, if you see, the article highlights the significant dangers posed by new age gateway devices. This is a new word, new age gateway devices like e-cigarettes, vaping pens, particularly among children and adolescents. These devices, originally portrayed as a healthier alternative to smoking, have instead fostered a new addiction crisis and are causing both physical and mental harms. The article calls for a greater awareness of these risks and re-evaluation of how these products are marketed, regulated to protect public health, especially for the younger population. Okay, so let's move on to the next article. Investing in persons with disability. Okay, this article discusses the societal and institutional neglect of persons with disabilities in India, emphasizing the lack of investment in their education and employment. It highlights the stigma, lack of infrastructure, poor policy implementation that hinders the full participation in their society, the full participation in the society of disabled persons, and also calling for a more inclusive practices and better representation. So this is the overall view of this article. Let's understand this article in detail. So understanding the challenges faced by a persons with disability requires recognizing a deep seated social stigma and systematic barrier that exist within the educational system and the employment sectors. In many parts of the world, including India, persons with disabilities, they face significant marginalization. They are marginalized both socially and economically. It might not be shown very evident, but it is there. So this marginalization is often perpetuated by lack of awareness, inadequate infrastructure, insufficient policies designed to support and include persons with disability in everyday life. So most of the persons with disability, they are lack of awareness, and also there are inadequate infrastructure in all the sectors, education sectors, employment sectors, everything. And also the policies designed by government, it is also insufficient. That's what the author says. In India, the Rights for Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, so Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 rights, mandates that certain provisions like reservation in government jobs, incentives for non-government jobs. However, the implementation of these provisions is often lacking, leading to poor representations of PWs in both educational institution and workplace. So the article underscores the importance of investing in PWD, persons with disabilities, not just as a moral imperative, but also a matter of human rights and social justice. So the article written by Rajesh Ranjan, he highlights the multifaceted challenges faced by persons with disabilities, particularly focusing on the systemic neglection in education and employment and the pervasive social stigma that affects their daily lives. So first thing, portrayal of PWS and societal attitudes. The article begins by referring the Hindi movie Shrikant. Recently, a movie called Shrikant, which tells the story of Shrikant Bola, an industrialist who overcame visual impairment. In this movie, there is this hero named Shrikant. Okay, he is visually impaired, and there are a lot of challenges he faced throughout his lifetime, and he became an industrialist. And how he became that is the story of this movie, that is Shrikant Bola. The story is used as a metaphor for the broader societal attitude that discourages investing in education or general well-being of the children with disability. If you see this movie, will give you an overall view how the investment in education or general well-being of the children with disabilities are discouraged. Parents, they are often made to feel that their disabled children are not worth investing in. This sentiment reflects the broader societal stigma that views PWS as a less capable, less deserving for opportunity, which leads to their marginalization in the various sector. Yes, parents will often feel that investing in a disabled children is not worth. Okay, the status of education and employment for PWS. Let's understand the status. So the article provides a sobering look for a representation of PWS in education and employment. So according to 2023 report by Nifty 50 constituent companies, if you see the Nifty 50 companies, only 5 out of 50 companies have more than 1% of the PWS in the workforce, with most of them being public sector companies. If you see in Nifty 50 companies, out of Only 5 out of 50 companies have more than 1% of the PWD in their workforce. That too, mostly those are public companies, public sector companies. This statistic highlights the lack of representation and inclusion of PWD in corporate sector. In terms of education, the situation is similarly bleak. So the data from National for Promotions of Employment for Disabled Person reveals that less than 1% of the educational institutions in India are disabled friendly, with inadequate infrastructures like ramps, accessible restrooms in the school. So the data from National Center for Promotions of Employment for Disabled People, this reveals less than 1% of the educational institution which have which are having infrastructures like ramp, accessible restrooms in school. Well, less than 1%. So what are the challenges in implementing disabled friendly policies? The article notes that while there are provisions under Rights for Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 for reservations in government jobs and incentives in non-government jobs, there is a glaring lack of implementation. This lack of effective infrastructure and inclusive policy prevents PWD from fully participating in the society. So there is no effective infrastructure and inclusive policies so that we can have a fully participation in the society. There are a few examples of good practices like Shiv Nadar University Disability Support Policy. Shiv Nadar University Disability Support Policy, which offers personalized support to students with disabilities. However, these practices are not widespread or institutionalized, meaning they are not uniformly benefit all PWD across different regions and institutions because there are different varieties of disabilities, right? Visual impairment or persons who don't have, who have lost their legs or hands or many other disabilities are there. So they are not uniform. When we have a ramp or something, it will not uniformly benefit all the PWD. Need for inclusive education framework. So the article advocates for inclusive education framework that can support the PWD better. In reference, it references models from international universities like Harvard and Stanford, which have established support structures for students with disabilities, including local disability coordinators. They have local disability coordinators and comprehensive resource centers. These models shows a robust institutional support that can enhance the educational experience of PWD. See, in that movie Shrikant, if you see, he has not given a better education in India, so he moves to other country in near. I think he moves to abroad, like United States, where he doesn't feel that he is disabled. That kind of infrastructure is there, and policy support is there in other countries. Okay. In India, while some universities are making strides, the lack of standardized inclusive policy across all educational institutions means that many persons with disability remains excluded from higher education's opportunity. Because we need that kind of infrastructure set up. It should be all inclusive for all the persons with disabilities. Employment challenges and need for better policies. In employment, despite the legal mandate for reservations and inclusive policies, private sector in particular have failed to comply with this requirement. So article suggests that states should develop compliance mechanism to ensure that the companies adhere to these mandates. It gives examples in Brazil where companies with more than 100 employees must ensure that persons with disability constitutes about 2 to 5% of their workforce with penalties for non-compliance. Okay, this can be implemented in India. Similarly, Japan has implemented incentive mechanism for companies to employ PWD, demonstrating the effectiveness of combining regulations with positive incentives. Striving for dignity and challenge persons. The article touches the critical issue of dignity of persons with disability. It quotes British artist David Heavy and the socialist Colin Baines to illustrate how PWD have historically been portrayed negatively and viewed as a burden on the society. Okay, this negative portrayal contributes to societal attitudes to see PWD as less capable or deserving for opportunities, leading to further marginalization. So the article recounts a recent incident where a former cricketer mocked PWD, highlights the ongoing social stigma and lack of sensitivity towards PWD. Okay. So the article also highlights that how disability combined with other factors like caste and genders can create additional layer of disadvantage for the individuals. The PWDs from marginalized communities such as those belongs to lower caste or specific genders face compounded discrimination. Already persons with disability are facing discrimination. If they are from the marginalized community or specific gender, this discrimination is compounded. This intersectionality means that these individuals are not only battling social stigma around this disability, but also other form of systemic discrimination also. So the article concludes by referencing a quote from Abhishek Anika book, The Grammar of My Body. The Grammar of My Body, which calls for these for those who create social distance between themselves and PWD to take the initiative to bridging the gap. Okay, the grammar of my body. Uh, that is a book. Okay, from there he takes the reference. It emphasizes the need for able-to-body individuals and society at large to change their perception and action towards PWD to create a more inclusive environment where PWDs can live with dignity and equality. So the perception of persons who are with good, I mean, persons who are fully able to body, they should have a good perception towards the PWDs for more inclusive environment. That's what the article says. So this article lights on the urgent need for better inclusion, representations of persons with disabilities in Indian education and employment sector. This is the these two are very important. This is the first step that government has. It calls for more robust policies, better implementations of existing laws, societal shifts in attitudes to treat PWDs with dignity and respect they deserve. Okay, so investing in PWDs is not just about providing equal opportunity, but also recognizing their inherent worth and potential to contribute to the society in meaningful way. So these are the important articles from the Indian newspaper for today. So thank you. If you like the initiative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.